Hello friends, this is Kushag. So today we will discuss the very first chapter of the novel Invisible Man, and the chapter name is A Strange Man's Arrival. So let me plot the scene, what actually happens. A very strange, or we can say odd looking man comes from the Brumblehurst railway station of Epping village, and this village was located in England suburb. Now the stranger was dressed in very odd manner. He was wrapped all around with bandages, then from toe to head. From toe to head, his all appearance was really very much mysterious. His hands were thickly gloved, his face was completely hidden, only the tip of his nose was visible, and that was actually pink. Now, it was the month of February, biting cold wind was blowing, the snow was falling, and in the very same way, really the month or you can say the weather climate was not favorable. It was really chilling, and the stranger was tired. He was so much tired, so he was searching for some shelter from where he could stay. So now from the Brumblehurst railway station, he arrived to the Epping, where he founded the inn, the coach and horses. Now he met there with a hostess of lady and named Mrs. Hall. Now when he reached there, without any haggling, without any kind of haggling, he simply asked whatever she asked. Means whatever the amount of money was asked by Mrs. Hall, he simply gave it, the 2 sovereigns, without any haggling. So this, and by the arrival of the stranger as a guest at the inn of Mrs. Hall, she was feeling really very great and happy. She even remarked the stranger as unheard piece of luck. This is very important. Why she remarked? Actually, because in the month of February, no guest. This was the offset season for the guest room, for her guest room. So, and without any haggling, he was agreed to give the amount of money. So she was feeling really happy and satisfied. So without any kind of identity, even Mrs. Hall was also knowing that this man is looking really strange. She was having an idea, but as he was not a haggler and no one arrives in the month of February without any kind of identity or proof or objections, she gave her room. Now Mrs. Hall went to prepare him a meal with her own hands. Actually, the Mrs. Hall was caring towards the guests, and she was accommodating by nature, right? So this was the good quality, but at the very same time she was money minded and business woman, as we have seen that without any kind of identity she gave her room, right? So as soon as the pig meat was prepared, she, showing the expression of contempt for her maid Millie, moved to the stranger room with plate, glasses, cloth, etc., right? So when she entered his room, she found the fire burning and the room was quite warm. She was extremely surprised to see the stranger had not removed his hat and coat still. He was standing like a statue, like a stone of a statue. He was staring out of window at the falling snow in the yard. His gloved hands were clasped behind him and he seemed to be lost in his thought. Actually, the stranger always seemed to lost in his thoughts and ideas. He was not much interested in any kind of discussion, queries or whatever. So she noticed that the melting snow that still sprinkled his shoulder dripped upon the carpet. Now actually she was caring also. She was accommodating by nature also. She was really a good lady. She used to care about the problems the guest might suffer, but more or in other way she was business minded. Actually, she wanted to show that how much efficient she is in running her inn. So that's why when she saw this, she asked the stranger to give his hat and coat for drying, but the stranger refused. I already told you that the stranger was Now the stranger was not interested, so he simply refused. I already told you he was not, he was really somewhat, you can say, mad looking guy. He was by his appearance, also by his thoughts. We will later on we will come to know about the complete stranger, the complete attitude, the rude behavior of the stranger. Now when the stranger was looking at her over his shoulder, Mrs. Hall noticed that he wore a big blue spectacles with side lights, and a bush side whisker actually covered his coat collar that hides his cheek and face. Now the very blue spectacles were giving the stranger a perfect look of lobster. Actually, lobster is a sea animal. Now Mrs. Hall did not want to carry on the conversation with the stranger because her attempts at the conversation were cut short by the stranger, right? So she put the things on the table and went out for the room. Now when she returned with his meal, she found the stranger visitor still standing, and that was most surprising, that just this guy, how is, and he is not even ready to talk, he is not giving his coat, he is not talking to me also about anything, and his back bent was, now his collar was turned up and his dripping hat brim turned down, hiding his face and ears completely. Now I have already told you the stranger always tried to hide himself completely because we know that he was invisible. So he was tilting down the hat brim down to hide his face. His whiskers were hiding his face, and he was completely wrapped up with bandages, right? So Mrs. Hall put down now she came again in the room, and Mrs. Hall put down the eggs and bacon what she prepared and asked him to have his lunch. He thanked her, but he didn't move. Means he didn't turn toward Mrs. Hall until or unless she moved out of the room. Now suddenly she remembered that the mustard was not served to the guest. Now she scolded her maid Millie. Actually she was lymphatic, means you can say lazy. Now here we can conclude, or here we can see a very important conclusion, that the way the Mrs. Hall scolded the maid, Miss Millie, was not just because of agony or just because of irritation, the way she scolded. Instead, she wanted to show that how much efficient she is in running the inn. She wanted to show domineering nature of her. Means how well she is in command. Means she is firm determined in his own ideas and thoughts. She is well in command for running this inn. Means that we can see the efficiency, right? So she was utterly surprised to see the sight, which was awesome. Now a very strange thing happened here. She saw the stranger had raised his head and he was sitting and looking at her. For a moment she could speak nothing. She stood looking at him with open mouth. He was holding a serviette, actually this was table napkin, over the lower part of his face, so that his mouth and jaws were completely hidden. The author has given an idea to the readers that, see, his mouth and jaws were completely hidden. Whose mouth and jaws? Yeah, the stranger. So actually he was hiding it with table napkin. And he was speaking through it, so that make the voice muffled, you can say compressed somewhat. Now all his forehead above the blue glasses was covered by white bandages, and another covered his ear. The white bandages was wrapped all around, and as I have already told you, and he was also wearing the blue glasses, which gave him a perfect look of lobster. Now not a scrap of his face was exposed out. The only thing that was visible, the pink nose, which I already told you. Now he wore a dark brown velvet jacket with a high black collar, which was turned up about his neck. Still holding the table napkin created a mysterious suspicion in the mind of Mrs. Hall, but she ignored it. Right, now she picked up his clothes and moved to the door. As she was going out of the door, she glanced at the white. Now what happened, he taked out the hat and it was placed by a stranger on the table. Now when she was moving out, means Mrs. Hall, she glanced at his white swathed head and blue goggles. She even shivered a little as she closed the door behind her, and her face had clear expression of surprise and confusion. Now the stranger was very much cautious. The mysterious stranger seemed to be very much alert because he don't want his identity to be revealed. He always wanted that the invisibility factor which he has applied on him was to be completely hidden. Means he don't want to expose out anything, nothing. He was not interested. Now when Mrs. Hall was gone, when he listened to the retreating feet of Mrs. Hall, then only he came to the table for his meal. So we can see the conscious nature of the stranger here. So when he was completely sure, then he only came to the table for his meal. And when he put it down the blinds also and made the room in dull light, dim and dull light. Now after getting the strange and mysterious side of the appearance of the visitor, means the stranger, Mrs. Hall was greatly baffled and bewildered, means she was totally confused. This state was completely under the perplexion. She was pondering over all these things now she could not get any clue of her guest helmet, means why he was having the hat and such a appearance, and the handkerchief, means the table napkin which he was holding and during the meal, right, which we had seen before. Now she thought that perhaps he had got serious injury of his mouth in the accident and his mouth had been disfigured. So in order to conceal the frightening ugliness, he might have covered his face with the table napkin. After some time, when she went to her guest room to clear the lunch table, he was smoking a pipe, and he did not lose the silk muffler which he had wrapped round the lower part of his face. On seeing this, Mrs. Hall became sure about her opinion. Means when he was drinking, when he was smoking his pipe, then also he was wrapping the silk muffler all around. So somewhat you can say the Mrs. Hall was sure about her opinion, that what she was thinking about the accident, to somewhat extent it may be true. Now the mysterious visitor was sitting in the corner with his back to the window's blind, right. Now he told Mrs. Hall that he had some luggage and which was lying at Bramblehurst railway station, and asked her how he could get this luggage in the inn. He wanted his luggage as quickly as possible because actually later on you will come to know that his luggage was having chemical bottles and all the experiment materials. So he wanted it, right. So but Mrs. Hall told him that no speed delivery could be made here and his luggage could reach the inn by tomorrow. She also told him that the roads were steep and prone to accidents. Now why she turned, we can see how Mrs. Hall is trying to develop the conversation. She is now using the word accidents. Why? Because she was curious that something must be revealed by this odd looking man. Now she further added that the people had met with accidents and they were either killed or injured in the road accident. So we can see how many times she is adding the word accidents, because she's thinking might be by listening this all, maybe the stranger may reveal something about him. Now Mrs. Hall's reply could not satisfy and comfort him, means the stranger. He still felt disappointed at the statement because the stranger was only interested about his own ideas and thoughts. He was dreaming or he was dozing in his own world. He was not interested in any kind of discussion or queries, right? Even she also told her guest, means the stranger, about the accident of her sister's son, that is nephew. Now she informed that her sister's son took long time to get well. The boy was greatly afraid of being operated on. The manner in which the Mrs. Hall was depicting the incident of her sister's son made the stranger laugh aloud. Why? Because the stranger also got a clue that this lady wanted me to reveal something, but as soon as the stranger got a clue, he laughed aloud because, and this way, the way he laughed, made Mrs. Hall snubbed in front, snubbed. So she was irritated and annoyed, and she stopped there. Means because the stranger was firm determined that he didn't want to reveal any kind of identity or something about him. Now Mrs. Hall becomes so much engrossed in talking with her guest that she forgot that her guest was not interested in her talks, which I already told you. Now when she was telling her guest all this, suddenly he asked for some matches as his pipe was out. So we can see the way how the stranger rudely behaved with her. Means she was trying to develop some kind of conversation. She was inquiring about him, but the stranger simply said, okay, get lost and just bring the matches for my pipe, as you can see, because it is burnt out. Now Mrs. Hall considered him rude and went for the matches. As I already told you, she was caring. So how caring she was, that she didn't wanted any kind of problem faced by the guest residing in the inn. Now having got the matches, he thanked her and turned his back on her. Means we can again see the way the Mrs. Hall was snubbed, and he stared out of the window. She thought that the guest was sensitive on the topic of operation and bandages. Means somewhat this line means that actually she thought that the stranger was, you can say the stranger was emotional because of bandages, or suppose because of the accident, so he was not talking. But you know, this was not the actual fact. We know that he always wanted to be isolated. But the way Mrs. Hall was snubbed, that really irritated him a lot. Now the visitor remained in the parlor until 4 o'clock. Everything was quiet till 4 o'clock in the evening, except for the occasional sound of the visitor pacing the room and the creaking of the armchair as he sat down. So in this way the chapter first ends. So friends, if you liked my explanation, don't forget to press the thumbs up button, do comment, like and subscribe. Thanks once again.